Let's bring in former FBI Special Agent and Navy SEAL Jonathan Gilliam. Jonathan, the person of interest, Robert Carr, he's a trained firearm instructor believed to be in the Army Reserve Station out of Suffolk, Maine, had reported hearing voices and threatened to shoot up the military base. He was committed to a mental health facility for 2 weeks this past summer and is, of course, considered armed and dangerous right now. When you hear a description like that, what goes through your mind?
Well, I think the law enforcement has a real challenge at this point for a couple of reasons. If this individual is delusional and has some training, as is being shown in the way that he's carrying the weapon and in the background, if this is in fact the individual that they're looking for, this delusion that he has seems to have extended past one location, which is typical for most people who have this type of a delusional attack and carry it out. So this individual is continuing his attack to the second location and then actually fled. So what that shows is that he is aware of what he's doing and he now has a will to live. So that type of an individual, from what I've seen, is somebody who's more likely to fight back or continue their killing spree as they try to escape further.
Jonathan, it is 4 a.m. in Maine, pitch black. I don't imagine a lot of searching is being done in the woods right now for sheer safety of the individuals who be doing the searching, because like you said, this guy's pretty tactical. This guy could be lying in wait and could ambush these officers. So my gut tells me that law enforcement right now is creating a profile on him in an effort to track him down. Cell phone, family, friends, the mental health facility where he was for 2 weeks in the summer. Describe this process. Describe what they're doing right now.
Well, I would say most likely that they are looking for him in the woods. A lot of law enforcement tactical units around the country, and I'm sure around that area, have night vision. And they also have helicopters that have access to FLIR, which allows them to see in the dark and see heat, along with the night vision that the officers may be using and most likely are using. So while that search is continuing, they're also looking at the cell phone usage, what towers that cell phone might be pinging off of if he is in fact using it. And so they'll try to narrow down where he's at using technology and using the ability to seek at night and take this individual out, which I will add is the most important issue at this moment, is finding him and stopping his forward movement by either capturing or killing him.
So he was driving a 2013 white Subaru, according to the sheriff of the Androscoggin County sheriff there. He said that law enforcement was able to find the car near a boat dock in Lisbon, which is about 7 miles southeast of Lewiston, where these 2 shootings took place. A car was not inside. So they found the car near a boat dock, person of interest not inside. What does that tell you?
Well, again, it shows that he is pursuing his will to live by getting away from there, or it could be the end of his mental break, and it may be the case that they find this individual dead by suicide. As the daylight comes. And I do want to say one thing. What I do hope law enforcement is doing, which is not typical for law enforcement, but is a tactic that they should start using, is where that car is found is not where they should necessarily only start searching from that location out. They should be predicting by how fast you can travel from that location and setting up a perimeter outside there and searching in at the same time.
That's a really important point. The fact that this guy targeted a bowling alley on a crowded youth night, no less. He also targeted a restaurant. What does that tell you about this individual? And quite frankly, Jonathan, his willingness to continue this horrific spree?
Well, it's interesting because in 2018, an individual took off all his clothes at 3 a.m. and went into a Waffle House and shot and killed several people before escaping in Nashville, Tennessee. And what is the similarity here? It is that if somebody is delusional, they will still be able to pick out where a soft target is, because a soft target is where, by definition of what that facility is, what their business is, it's going to draw in a group of people, sometimes large or a medium-sized group of people. A bowling alley, a restaurant, a bar at 9 o'clock or 6 o'clock at night is not unlikely to have a lot of people there, because that's around dinner time, and it's when people are, if they're going to go bowling or have fun, that's where the night begins. That's where he struck. He either knows those places or he just saw them as targets of opportunity because they were the soft targets. And people need to start realizing that even somebody who's completely delusional can identify where a location is that they can get the most bang for their buck.
Well, our reporter David Spunt said on an email earlier saying the FBI has 3 satellite offices in Maine and Augusta, Bangor, and Portland. Agents from those offices likely all hands on deck. The Boston FBI office also said that they would be willing to assist in any way they can. Thank you so much for joining us, Jonathan Gilliam. We appreciate your insight as always.